And the reason I say that is because of the following story. So I used to work for a wonderful man. His name was Frederick. This is a long time ago. His name was Frederick. He was in his 60s. I'm making him older than he is. He was in his 60s and he was from South Africa and used to be an architect. So he decided to actually explore a new business opportunity and came up with a brand new concept at the time. This was fantastic, in selling tickets, attraction tickets online. So the idea was that you could go to the website, buy your ticket, print out a voucher, and go straight to the venue with that voucher. So this was a brand new, brilliant concept, but no one knew about it. So what did Frederick do? Frederick decided to invest most of his marketing budget in Google Ads. And Google Ads allowed him to get in front of the right people and lots of people of the right people and sell his product. So his little business turned into a multi-million, multi-award winning company. And the moral of the story is, even if you're a small business, Google Ads can work for you. And I'm going to tell you why. And if you want to know what happened to Frederick, he's very happily retired because he sold his business for a lot of money. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about what exactly it is, how it works, a few of the myths debunked around Google Ads, why it's perfect for small businesses, and my top do's and don'ts when you set up a campaign, and the many mistakes that I've seen people do. So, what exactly is Google Ads? So, if you type in to Google something like physiotherapist near me, you will see listings at the top, which are very clearly labeled ad. So you will have at least 3 or 4 at the top, the search engine, and you will also have 3 or 4 at the bottom. So these are Google Ads. They're paid for ads. And in between, underneath the top ads, you will have either Google Maps, or you will have natural listings, which is called organic listings, so SEO. And just as way of an introduction, because I forgot to do that, so I work on both SEO and Google Ads. So that's called search engine marketing. So I help businesses scale their business through search engines. So it's how do you make your business more prominent and drive traffic to your site and ultimately make more sales. So I'm Vanessa from VFB Marketing and I'm based in Harpenden. So Google Ads, and this is the Wikipedia description, used to be called AdWords, Google AdWords, back in before 2018. And it's an online advertising platform developed by Google. It was launched back in 2000, so quite a long time ago. And I worked on my first Google AdWords, as it was known then, back in 2005, when it was relaunched as a self-service platform. Now, Google has lots of different products. So that includes search, which you can see here on the screen. And that also includes Google Maps, so you can advertise on Google Maps. It also includes shopping ads. You may have seen those image ads at the top of Google as well, for e-commerce businesses. So they display their products with a bit of text underneath, as well as display and video. Now, this is how Google sell themselves. Google Ads makes it easy to show the world what's unique about your business so you can reach customers searching for what you offer. So the beauty of Google Ads is that you can get your message out to the right people online the way you want to. Now, how exactly does it work? So Google Ads is actually an auction-based advertising platform. So from the diagram above, you can see you put in your search, you're competing against quite a few other advertisers. So Google will then decide on how much you've decided to bid or pay for each click when an ad appears, but also the quality of your ad as to where they position you. So you may appear at the top, you may appear second, third, or at the bottom of the page. And this really boils down to the quality of your ads in relation to the search query, or what someone has searched for, essentially. So if your ad reflects that search query, and also your landing page, so where you then take that user to on your website, if that is a seamless journey, then that is deemed as a really good experience by Google, and they will give you a higher quality score. So it gets slightly technical here, and it is hard to control, but at the end of the day, if you're serving the user with the right sort of result, the right ad, and the right experience when they get to your site, you'll be rewarded for it, and your costs will be lower. So the good thing is that you only have a pay-per-click. So your ad might be seen lots and lots of times, which is great for brand awareness, but ultimately you will only ever pay if someone clicks on your ad. Now, this is the basic account structure, and I'm not going to go into too much detail here. So this is how an account is set up. So there are 3 levels, or 3 tiers to a Google Ads account. So when you go into the platform, you need to set up an account first, then you've got campaigns, and within that you've got ad groups. So as I said, you just set up an account initially. That's a one-off thing that you need to do. So that will tie the account to your name and your business, and that's where you enter your payment details and things like that. And then once you've set that up, you start building out your campaigns. So your campaigns is where you would, for example, set your budget. So you would have a daily budget, and there's no minimum budget, so you could spend £1 a day if you wanted to. But you'd also it would also determine certain settings within the account. So it would determine things like location. So if you wanted to target Hemel Hempstead, so if it was business networking in Hemel Hempstead and that was your campaign, then you could set up that campaign just to target Hemel Hempstead. And then you would need to set up a separate campaign to just target a different area, if it's Harpenden or somewhere else, Albans, for example. If you have got a very small budget, then it only makes sense to set up one campaign, because obviously the more campaigns you set up, the more you would need to spend. So within each campaign, you would then have ad groups, and you can have as many as you want within each campaign. So within each ad group, you will set up a number of keywords. So you probably have at least 10 keywords within each ad group that are very tightly themed. So for example, if you're an osteopath and you want to have a different ad group for each of your services, then you might have an ad group for cranial osteopathy, for example, or for sciatica, or for back pain. So they would all need to sit in separate ad groups. The reason for that is that that the ad that you create is matched to those keywords. So you basically need to make sure that they match the keywords. So if it's a sciatica ad group, then obviously your ad needs to talk about sciatica, and then you would take people through to a page that talks about sciatica. So this is the basic structure. Now, I just want to sort of demystify Google Ads a little bit further. I think a lot of people feel that it's just way out of their reach as a small business because it's just way too expensive. Now, as I said earlier, there's no minimum spend. So if you wanted to spend £1 a day, obviously that's very low. And if your average cost per click, how much you pay per click, is £1, then you would have spent that very quickly. So I would always advise spending maybe £5 to £10 a day to start with. So that's around £300 a month. And then you could scale that up. So the beauty of it is you can invest as much as you want to initially to test what works and doesn't work. So here's a stat for you. 77% of marketers will increase their spend on Google Ads over the next 12 months. So this just says basically that it's worth investing in. So if you're getting enough out of it, then it doesn't really matter how much you put in. Second myth, no one clicks on them. Well, 75% of people actually say paid ads make it easier to find the information they're searching for. And quite often people don't realize that they're clicking on a paid ad because they just click the first thing that they see. So if no one clicked on them, we wouldn't have Google Ads now. And the third one ties really into the first one. If you think it's too expensive, you think it's only for the big boys or girls, of course. So only for the major brands out there, then that's not right. So it's definitely, as I said, worth investing as a small business and trialing it. So 45% of small businesses invest in pay-per-click. So Google Ads is also called pay-per-click or PPC advertising. Now 45% might seem like a small number, but to me that just means there's more opportunity for other small businesses to be able to compete. So this is really just to say why Google is perfect for small businesses, which I've touched on already. So I just want to talk about the customer journey and how people actually end up buying a product or a service. And obviously nothing's straightforward in life. So this is just really a diagram to say this is where you find audiences at different stages of their customer journey. So this is a See, Think, Do, Care framework, which was established by Google. But really this is about your audience. And as a small business, you really need to have done some work to understand where your audience hangs out. So where does your ideal customer hang out, and where are you going to start that conversation with them? So social media is great at starting those conversations, at connecting with people and inspiring people. So you can see here the examples of media mix. It's a bit small, but social media is really high on the list there. Whereas as you go through and you start to, as a customer, understand what product that you have a need for a product or a service, you start to do more research online. So you start to go to Google, you start to read blogs, you start to read reviews. So this is the think and do stages where there's a much higher commercial intent from the customer in terms of what they're looking for. So this is where Google Ads and SEO come into play to say, actually, this is a product or service I can offer you, and the customer has a very specific need, is aware of that need, and more likely to buy your product. So you're reaching them at a really crucial role in the customer journey. Number two, one of my main reasons why it's perfect for small businesses is that you can scale your business more quickly. So as I said right at the beginning, Frederick was able to scale his business even though no one knew about it, because he was able to get in front of the right people, but lots of the right people who wanted to buy his product, so at the point of need. And the third point is that your return on investment is measurable. So everything that you do online is measurable. So you can understand exactly how much you're getting back in return for your Google ad spend. So you can track your sales, you can track your inquiries. So you need to make sure that that's all set up, but that's very straightforward to do. And then you can see exactly how many conversions, we call it, your ad spend or your Google ads, how many conversions, how many sales, and how many inquiries that's actually generated. So it's incredibly measurable. You understand exactly what you're putting in and what you're getting out. So it doesn't really matter if you put in £200 a month or £2,000 a month, as long as you're making returns. Okay, so ultimately you're in control of Google Ads. So this is the beauty of Google Ads. You can spend what you want. So as I said before, you can spend £1 a day, you can spend £10 a day. You can start and stop campaigns whenever you want to. So if you're going on holiday, you could pause the campaign. If you've run out of a specific product, you can pause the campaign. If you are at capacity, like Debbie, then you can pause a campaign. So you can start and stop it within a second. So you just click, basically pause your campaigns. What's brilliant about it, as I've already said, is that you can target, you can be very specific in your targeting. So you can target the keywords that you know your ideal customer is using or potentially using to find your product or service. So you are in control of the keywords that you want to serve and that you want to bid on for your ad to appear and reach those people. And you can also tailor your messaging to suit your offer and your audience. So you're in control of the ads. So you create the ads. So I've done on here for Mums UnLtd, and it really just shows you what you can create. So there's so many different ways that you can do. You can set up your ads, and this is what they can look like. But also you can run multiple ads. So you can set up as many ads as you want. I'd always recommend 2 ads at a minimum per ad group. And then you can start to test them. So you can start to understand, okay, what resonates best with my audience? What do people respond to the most? So that will be based on the number of clicks that you get from each ad, and then who converts, so who actually buys the product or inquires with you. So you can keep testing these. And also, SEO and Google Ads go hand in hand. So as I said, I do both, and I have a very holistic view of how it works. And I've done digital marketing for 20 years. So I really understand how all the different channels work together, but specifically SEO and Google Ads, because they're obviously search engine based, are very complementary. So the beauty of this is that you can actually use any insights that you glean from Google Ads. So if you're running certain keywords that you see are working really well for you, you can use that to shape your SEO strategy. So you can say, okay, this keyword is performing really well, I'm getting loads of sales through this keyword, so now I'm going to optimize my site for that keyword, and then you can hopefully start ranking for that keyword, depending on what it is, over time, naturally. And then you can, in an ideal world, stop paying for that keyword. Conversely, you can actually bid on generic keywords. So if there is a keyword that is very, very difficult to optimize your website for, so if you're a wedding photographer, then it will be very hard to rank for something like wedding photography, because there are thousands of photographers. So it's very difficult to appear naturally on page 1 for that term. So you can then start bidding on that term through Google Ads. Now, here are my top 3 do's. So things that I've seen people do and, that they don't do and should do. So my top 3 are to track your goals. So I've already talked about this. So I've seen people set up campaigns, start spending a lot of money, and then they don't actually know whether it's working or not. So you have to track your conversions. Well, whatever your goal is, whatever your objective is, you have to understand, if you're able to track it, and understand what's working and what's not working. There's something called match types. So a lot of people don't realize that match types exist. So they set up a campaign, and by default, Google will set you up as broad match. So you can see the list of match types here. And I'm not going to go into detail on them, but basically what it means is that for broad match, you will appear for lots and lots of different types of searches. So if, for example, your keyword is women's hats, you will appear for women's clothing, women's scarves, winter headwear, etc., etc. So this is far too broad. Conversely, there is exact match, which is far more targeted. So what you just need to make sure is that you're not just set to broad match, you'll need to set up some of the others so that your campaigns are more targeted and you're not wasting a lot of money. And the third one, which is what I've already talked about as well, is use a relevant landing page. So when people come to that page, it's relevant to what they originally searched for, and it's very what we call direct response. So it will educate people, but also get them to do what you want them to do. So it should be very concise. It should be very, it should have enough information on it to tell them about the product or the service, and then it should get them to the point that you want them to get them to. So my 3 don'ts. Debbie, are you still there?
Yep.
Good. Am I way over? Because I haven't checked the...
No, you've only done 20 minutes. You're fine.
Oh, all right. Okay. Whittling through it. All right. So my top 3 don'ts are, and again, I've seen people do this, is not to use smart campaigns. So, whoops. So by default, when you set up an account from scratch with Google Ads, it will almost force you into setting it up as a smart campaign. Now, the problem with this is a smart campaign is automated to an extent. So basically, Google sells it as a service that makes your life a lot easier. And it looks very straightforward, but ultimately, you'll end up spending a lot of money because it automates lots of things. It brings in keywords that aren't relevant and the wrong sort of traffic potentially. So it's harder for you to control. So just don't set it up as a smart campaign. Try and set it up as a search campaign is my recommendation. Don't forget to set a maximum cost per click. So that's really just saying, right, I don't really want to pay more than £1 per click, but make sure that you've set that as your maximum cost per click, because I've seen people spend a lot more because they didn't necessarily set a maximum cost per click. And my 3rd one is just don't be afraid to try it out. So I think it sounds scary, it sounds technical, it sounds complicated, and I will be doing a training session actually at the end of September to walk people through a campaign setup, because it can, if you've never done it before, it can be pretty daunting, and there are lots of different steps that you have to take that if you're not sure about what to do, then it can seem a little bit complicated. And as I said, you could just try Google Ads for one product initially, or for one of your services. So you don't have to jump in with everything you've got. You can just try it out first and then walk it out slowly if it's working. So my advice is try it out. And Google actually gives lots of financial support. I mean, they always provide vouchers. So at the moment they're doing one that I've seen, which is £120 that they will match if you spend £120. So that's £240 that you could spend in a month to give it a go. Word of caution though, like with anything digital marketing related, you want to give it enough time before you decide it's not working. So I typically say to someone, with the testing and optimization that you need to do, you would want to give it at least sort of 3 months really. And here is a final word from one of Google's small business clients that I thought I would share with you.
You might need to adjust your volume, I think.
Oh.
No, I can't hear anything. I don't know if anyone else can.
Oh no. Hang on. I don't know why that's happening, because I can hear it. That's really weird. Sorry.
I think there's an option when you screen share to share your volume as well at the top.
Yeah.
Right.